I mean, how did you get into exorcisms?
Well, that's interesting too. You know, after 9/11, I moved up to Boston and I wound up staying with a priest for about 9 months, and he did deliverance ministry. In fact, the very first weekend I arrived, and I didn't know him that well, but I'm out of luck. I have no job now, and now I have no place to live because I was so close. They closed everything under Canal Street, so there was no power, there was no gas, there was no electricity. And so basically everyone was told, go find a place to live for at least 6 months because this isn't going to be up and running anytime soon. So this priest invited me up to Boston. I said, I'll go. I go up there, and he was amazing. But he had this ministry. So my first weekend there, he has this woman in his chapel in the rectory who's slithering across the floor like a snake and foaming at the mouth, and her eyes are rolled back in her head. And he's doing all these prayers. And then he looks at his watch and he says, okay, I'm going to go celebrate Mass. I'll be back in an hour. Just stay with her. And I'm like, what? This is my first introduction to this life. He leaves. She looks up at me, and she's got this weird look in her eyes, and she's got the foam coming out of her mouth. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I get out of there, and I lock her inside, and I sat outside and waited for him to come back. Well, he comes back, and he's like, what are you doing? What happened to the lady? I go, no, she's in there. But I'm not staying in there with her. I mean, are you crazy? You left me alone with her. And he's like, oh, okay. I sometimes forget that for the people who haven't been around this, it's a little jarring. I'm like, a little jarring. Look at her. She looks like a snake. So that was my introduction initially. And then for 9 months, he would do this with people, and I got more comfortable in being in the room with him.
Like how many times in 9 months?
Probably one or two a month.
1 or 2 a month?
Yep. Yeah. And then I went into religious life, and my superior was an exorcist, the Exorcist of Omaha. So now I'm in the room because they usually took the guys who were a little bit bigger to restrain the victim. And I got 5 years of that. And then when I got to Nashville, the bishop knew I was doing that for the religious community. And he says, I want you to do that here for my diocese. Can you do the deliverance? But he says, I'm not going to make you an exorcist because I feel like that's too big a burden on one priest. And I said, okay. And then he died. God rest his soul, Bishop Joby. And then the new bishop comes in, and I don't have his authority because he hasn't given it to me. So as the priests are calling me for help, I keep referring them to him. I said, he has to give me the authority. I don't do this without being under his protection.